Hello, I'm Diana from All Things Laser Earrings, and I am doing a series of 30 days of earrings where I talk about different techniques and different things that you can do to your earrings to create to have very unique and one of a kind earrings. So it doesn't matter if you're all buying files from the same file maker, you can make earrings that are truly your own. And this is something that I really like to teach. It doesn't matter if you buy the same file somewhere else. It matters what you do with it, right? So I'm going to be talking about 30 different techniques, mostly Halloween, and then we're going to move into more Christmas as the month goes on. And I thought that I would start really simply with uh, showing how just using a simple stain varnish can completely change the look and feel of your earrings. I designed these really fun Halloween earrings. They are very straightforward. There's nothing very complicated about it. It has a single layer underneath, and then it has like a layer that you can add on top if you want. You don't have to. It can be painted as a single layer earring. And I personally just love this kind of very Baltic birch stark look. Probably because I make so many colorful things that sometimes like I just love something really simple. But I love the idea that this has a frame and you can paint the frame if you want. So we're going to be playing with these earrings for a couple of days just to show how you can completely change them up. But today we're talking about stains. The one thing to start off right away with stains is obviously stains will react differently depending on what wood you're using. We're using Baltic birch, which is a very kind of white wood. So it's going to have more of a dramatic difference. You can be using slightly darker woods, and then you're just going to be emphasizing color. Won't have so much of a dramatic difference. Maple is also a really good wood to use for earrings. I love maple. Mostly because it's not as grainy as, I don't know if you can see very well, but Baltic birch tends to be a little bit grainier, which means that colors can run a little bit more, stains can get a little bit blotchier. Maple tends to be a little bit smoother. But we're using Baltic birch today. I'm just going to quickly show the different kind of stains that I use. And really, it's one of those things. There's so many different kinds. There's like just straight up stains. There's loads of paint stains now that you can buy. Unicorn spit is one of them. There's alcohol ink stains that you can use. Watercolor is awesome for staining too. I will many times watercolor on wood is great when you're creating kind of a moody effect. It can be really, really pretty, and I will do a video on that. But it kind of looks like a stain because it's not very saturated. It's more of a blended look. So I almost count that as a stain. But today we're talking up straight up stains. So these are the ones that I use most because I do mostly earrings. I really like these pens. You can get them in various brands on the in Amazon, on the internet. These are the cheaper ones, I think. Rejuvenate. The only problem with these pens is that they get dark very fast. So, for example, this oak is pretty much as dark as I can go. Like the walnuts and the darker woods get very, very, very dark. So you almost lose you don't see the wood anymore. But these are great if you just want to change color just a little, and we'll show you in a second. You just want a little bit more depth of color, and they're very easy and fast. If you want kind of a deeper color, these Varthane stains are really good. They have these applicators with the sponge, which are great as long as the sponge is working. The sponge does disintegrate pretty fast, unfortunately, but I love it when the sponge is working. And then when it disintegrates, I just start using my chamois for it. And then obviously these are both kind of golden oak, so it's more of like a subtle stain. And then you can start going darker, which is like where you go with the walnut. I mean, there are a million stains, and really everyone has a personal preference. So it's something, maybe you have some left over at home from staining wood or something. So try that out and see what you like. Like, I tend to stay away from reds and cherries. I like more browns and deepening browns. And then one which is more fun is like the whitewash. When you're kind of not, instead of going dark, you want to go lighter. So this is very good for like that farmhouse, kind of antiquing look. For Halloween, it can be fun because you can be creating a little bit of like irregular moodiness, which is kind of fun. So we will show. So the best way to start with this is to actually just have a plain piece of whatever wood you're going to be using. So it's a great way to start, right? You just start with something plainer, a little bit more, so you can test your stains. So I'm going to go right away and I'm going to show you the 3 that I'm going to use right here. As you can see, this is a more straightforward stain. Like it's stained, but it's not like very dramatic. And then these, always make sure you mix them up a little. So shake, shake, shake. Unfortunately, my sponge is destroyed. So I am gonna like very easily pop that off. It pops up pretty easily. I'm gonna use my chamois. And even though this is like technically the same color as the pen, it is going to stain a lot more. Oh, actually, isn't that funny? It actually kind of looks the same. In my mind, it is a deeper stain, but probably that has to do with how grainy your wood is. This batch of Baltic Birch is actually really nice. Sometimes you get a batch that's really, really grainy, and then like this stain really runs through and creates lines. This batch is smoother. And that's the other thing about stains too. Obviously, they're going to work on unfinished wood, but if you buy a batch of finished wood, in theory, it's not going to work because that wood's already been coated. So it's not going to be a great, it's not going to work on finished wood. So that's something to keep in mind too. Sometimes at the beginning, people buy finished wood because they like the look of it. But obviously with stains, that's going to be very complicated. And then I'm going to, this is a little, like, it gets a little bit complicated to use this, but, you know, I hate throwing something out if I don't have to. And then this is when we're going to go really dark and see the difference. Sorry. So these chamois are really good. I really like the chamois for this. And you can see how 3 completely different looks on just this piece of wood here. And then obviously when you let it dry, and also better to do less layers. I mean, less amount, more layers. Exact opposite of what I was saying. So that you don't start getting really blotchy areas. So if you want to deepen this a little bit more, you can come in and deepen it a little bit more. And then on the whitewash, I generally don't use a chamois for that. I generally use brushes. So I'm going to use the back of this earring to do this. And the brushes really, the type of brush really depends on what kind of effect you're going for. Obviously, the softer the brush, the more it's going to soak in. But if you want more of an antique farmhouse look, you need to go for like a thicker brush, or like, you know, these like really cheapo kids brushes that you get in kits. They're great because they don't really absorb a lot of paint, and they also they don't, you know, they'll apply it more in a streaky fashion. And then you can actually get these brushes, which are, you know, for that whitewash, you know, that people use on furniture. And I also use these a lot when I'm doing kind of the farmhouse look. So let me like shake this around a little. I'm always scared it's gonna like burst all over the place. Ask me why I'm scared of that. It's happened not only once to me, and then spend the rest of the day cleaning up a studio. Open it up. Wood is not going to win against, this one's really like stuck in here. Oh, this is why you should always pre-open things, but there's always something you forget to do before your videos. I'm like trying to find something that's like skinny, and this is when you look around your studio and you're like, what is metal? Here we go, these tweezers. I need something that is stronger. Wood is not going to win against this. All right, here we go. So we have this whitewash. And so I'm just going to show you the different brushes so you can see. So this is like a softer brush. So you can see it soaks in, and then you put it on, and it looks more like paint. It soaks in. And then this is like the cheapo kitty brush, you know, that comes in all those cheapo kits. And I'm going to apply it, and you see how that's like completely different effect. It's like more of a streak, less paint. And then these are like, this is better for a bigger surface. This is like, especially what I'm doing right now, it's really not enough for this brush. But I use this a lot, especially when you're layering. So like if I had like a deeper color underneath, and I'll do a whole earring showing that. If I had a deeper color underneath, like a blue or a red, and I am just whitewashing it to create kind of that more farmhouse look, this is the brush that I will use, because you don't want it to saturate into your color. You just literally want to streak it on top. And it has the best effect. I mean, I don't know if this is showing very well in the video, not at all. But this one is way more saturated. This one's a little less saturated. This one's very streaky. We're going to let that dry. And I'll do a whole video on kind of the farmhouse look. It's always a fun look because you get more kind of depth of color of these. So I am looking at this walnut, and I just want to increase its depth a little bit more. So I'm going to come in here, and I'm going to get my chamois again. And I'm going to double layer it a little bit. I do need to get a new thing of walnut. I need to stop being cheap. And I'm going to come in here, and I'm going to just layer it one more time. And now look at that. And it's funny how I thought that this one was way deeper, and it is so not. This one is so much more saturated, because really this is a marker. This isn't really stained. I think this is works more like a marker. So okay, so now let's do like the show different earrings. So let's show it on a black, and let's show it on a white, so you can see the difference. So we will do a golden oak. And don't worry, even if you're going to paint it afterwards, it doesn't matter. You can paint on top, just let it dry. So we're going to do... And sometimes if I am going to paint afterwards, I will do the whole earring. Because then the paint that you're painting on top is also a little bit more saturated, because it's reacting to... reacting to the stain that you have. It does change the color of the paint a little bit. Another tip is go with the grain of the wood. I didn't do it here, and then it looked funky right away. So you want to like see where the grain of your wood is going and cover that. Go with the grain. Don't fight the grain. If you fight the grain, you're more likely to get like pieces lifting up your earring, like wood pieces lifting up your earring. And now let's do, we'll do another black one too. So let's get another black one here. I have more on the side, and let's lift it up. Always take off your masking, obviously, before starting. This is an unusually very high quality. I think I got this from Baltic Birch. And staining is also a great way to disguise when you get these little char marks that you can't really get rid of. So this is also a great way of disguising char. Keep that in mind. If you have a piece that for some reason it's sneaking in under your masking and still charring, stain is a great way. Even if you just use the most subtle of stains, like this one here, which was this, it's going to disguise that char. Got some walnut, and let's do some walnut now. Go with the grain so it doesn't like make funky blotches. You can also use a sponge, like those fun kitty sponges. craft sponges. I just created a habit with the chamois, but the sponges are also really good to use for staying. Sometimes when you're doing it, you realize I have a piece of masking on here. So make sure you get rid of that, especially if it's your background. Okay, I'm going to let these dry, and then I'm going to come in and paint the borders so you guys can see the contrast. So I've let the stain dry. You should always let it dry so that you do have like less bleeding when you then paint your earrings. If you notice, this looks a little bit different than the two walnuts because some of us can't keep still, and so I actually put a whitewash on top just to show the difference with this brush. And also something I just want to mention, that even though this is whitewash, if you really, really want that streaky look, chalk paint is actually better to use than that whitewash. And I will show that in a different video. But yeah, so I don't know if I'm going to be able to paint that because that's still a little bit wet. But let's go ahead and paint the other ones. I am going to show you like two different pens that I use, and I use them in different ways when I'm making, when I'm painting my wood jewelry. There's the Posca pens and there is the Magi pens. Their biggest difference is that Posca pens can bleed into the wood. They are great for bigger surfaces where you don't need a lot of detail, but unfortunately, like you can tell here when you're like trying to test them out, too much paint can come out sometimes, so you're not totally in control of what you're doing. So Posca pens can be a little bit frustrating, and this was with my thinnest tip that this happened. So I don't always trust Posca pens 100%. I trust them maybe to do like the borders here, but then when we're going in to do details, I feel like I've thrown way too many earrings out. The Magi pens, which is like a random find on Amazon, I really like because they deposit paint. So they deposit paint on the wood. The paint never bleeds into the wood. So that means that like you never run the risk of things flooding. And so I really like these Magi pens. I'll put the link below. For for details. This is a great pen for details. Okay, with that said, I always have a piece of paper, to make sure it's flowing well. And these pens also have a thin, and then they have a thicker at the bottom, and actually you can flip it around and it's like a flat edge. I don't use as much, but yeah. So I'm going to go in and I'm going to paint this. I have to take my glasses off. And so as you can see, all my pens are a little bit dry because we've had a really hot summer, and actually we are at the beginning of another heat wave. So it's going to be really, really hot again. Yay. And it's October. What are you going to do? So you can see it doesn't run, but I still have to be careful and go within the lines. And if you feel like a lot of paint's coming out, you just hold it down, and I'll do that. And then I get rid of the excess paint and then go back in. So these pens, basically they paint on top of the wood. If you understand what I mean, they're not bleeding into the wood, which is what makes them great for details. Because most pens will always at least bleed a little bit into the wood. So since these are depositing on top, basically you are in control of what it's doing. Doesn't mean you don't have to follow the lines. So I'm still having to be careful here. And this one's actually a little bit scratchy, the edge. I don't love what it's doing. I need to go in there and trim the edge. And I do go in and trim the edges with a little scissors. But I love these pens. I like to do details, so these are great. So for there, for here, and now let's flip it around and we can do let me make sure that's working. It's working, and I can do But look, a lot less paint is coming out. Isn't that interesting? So yeah, I'm doing this in a hurry, but I just want to be able to show you guys. I actually don't like that, because that actually came out really blotchy. Funny how that works. So I'm going to go in and like cover it up, because I like the, ugh. I'm being very perfectionist here, but I always tell people, don't be that perfectionist. Just go with it. Create your frame. And now I'm looking at this and my brain wants to do so much more, but I am going to save that for a different video. We're keeping it simple in this video, and I'll let it dry. And now let's show the Posca pen. So this is Posca pen. Always test them out. Make sure ink is coming out. And I'm just going to do the border here. It has a better saturation of color for sure. This black is more of a black for sure. But you're not seeing, but it's like a spattering all over the place, which maybe is not the worst thing in the world. It's kind of pretty, actually. Adds a little bit more depth to what's going on in this earring. And I'm being very stark, like black, white. This is kind of where I'm going right now. But obviously that's not what you can do whatever you want. And this one I am going to, oh wow, I can, look. Now I'm looking at this. Ta-da! Missed the whole chunk. So we are going to go in, and the good thing about using the pen, just go with the grain. I'm just going to paint it right away, but I really should let it dry. In you go. I've painted a bunch of them now, and I just wanted like this to show how like a stain can make all the difference in the world. And also talk a little bit about the pens that I used. Look at this. Look at the bat. What a difference. This one's just like a very raw wood. This one has the black background frame, and it has the walnut with a bit of whitewash on it, which actually came across as silver. It's interesting. And then this was just painted with the Magi, and I have to admit, in this case, it was way easier to paint with the Posca pens. Posca pens are really good for like big flat surfaces. I just had way more control. You can tell here with the Magi pen, I was like, I'm someone who thinks they have a pretty good control over what I'm doing, and it just did not look as great. And then if you want to see with the double on top, here you go. Completely changes the look and feel of earrings. And then here the plain with the just the oak stain behind. And then I also wanted to show you like with white as opposed to the black. This is a beautiful matte black. I'm totally in love with it right now from CMB. And then this is like a bone white from Cerulean, I think, and that is like the shiny white from CMB Acrylics. And look at, and then I want to show you with white the difference. So this is the golden, this is the walnut, and I wish I hadn't done the frame because I actually think the walnut looks really good with the white on top of it, and then this is just the raw wood. So I hope this helps, and here's like the sample that I did, the pen, this, which is like a way more subtle golden oak, and then the walnut, but it has some whitewash on top. And I hope this helped. And if you have any questions, let me know. Please come join my community on Facebook. It's all things laser earrings. It's a very very supportive community. I love it when people share. I am constantly sharing tutorials on there. Come and join us. And thank you so much for